So, good afternoon, everyone. We are the group three. We are going to discuss the developmental theories and other relevant theories. So, today, we're going to discuss one of the theories of human development. We have Vygotsky's sociocultural theory. So, it will revolve on any dictation what the child can do in cooperation today or tomorrow. He will be able to do alone. It has something to do with the dealing with people in our development based from this theory when it comes if we cooperate with someone to accomplish a certain task. First, I'm going to introduce who is Lev Vygotsky. So, Lev Vygotsky was born in Russia in 1896. His works began when he was studying and learning and developing to improve his own teaching in his lifetime. He wrote on language, thought, psychology of art, and educating students with special needs. So, when Vygotsky was a young boy, he was educated under a teacher who used the Socratic method. This method was systematic question and answer approach that allowed Vygotsky to examine current thinking and practice higher level of understanding. This experience, together with the interest in literature in his work as a teacher, led him to recognize social interaction and language as two central factors in cognitive development. So history became known as sociocultural theory of development. Vygotsky worked on history around the same time as Piaget, in between the 1920s and 30s, but they had clear difference in their views about cognitive development. Since Piaget was taken up already in preceding it, it would be easier now to see how his views compare to Vygotsky. So now because this is interrelation with the cognitive development, so let's compare the cognitive development views of students experts by Piaget and Vygotsky. So Piaget is more individual. So the development depends on the learner, while uh, in the views of Vygotsky, more social focus because the development is based from the social interaction, like we have said a while ago. So now from Frage, he believes that there are universal stages of cognitive development because he believed that there is a uniform progress from the learner at a certain age. While Vygotsky, he did not um, propose stages but emphasize on cultural factors in cognitive development. So here, Vygotsky focused on their cultural factors that's why he's going to stress the role of language in cognitive development, while Piaget did not give that much emphasis on the language. So, in social cultural theory of development, we have four key terms. These key terms of Vygotsky theory as it plays an important role in cognitive development. First, we have social interaction. So, Vygotsky states the importance of cultural and social context for learning. Cognitive development stems from social interaction from guided learning within the zone of proximal development or what we call ZAD. As a children and their partners co-construct knowledge. In contrast, Piaget maintains that cognitive development stems largely from independent exploration in which children construct knowledge on their own. So, for Vygotsky, the environment in which children grows up will influence how they think and what they think about. For example, parents, teachers, and other adults in the learner's environment can contribute to the process of learning. So, yung role ng parents, teachers, and adults is sila yung nag-explain, nag-assist, and nagbibigay ng direction and nagbibigay ng feedback dun sa learner. So, Piaget's theory was more on individual, while Vygotsky's was more on social. So, si Piaget is nag-focus siya sa cognitive development based sa uh, interaction ng individuals. While kay Vygotsky naman, uh, yung social environment or community is mayroong major role sa development ng isang tao. Next, we have cultural factors. So, Vygotsky suggested that culture are actually formed through the use of tools and symbols, and this key distinction is differentiate the human race from that of animal. So intelligence is achieved when a learner can internalize the tools that are being provided in the culture itself. When the tools of the culture evolve and emerge, the learner's ability to grow as an individual increase their knowledge based on the broaden. So looking into a wider range of experience that the culture would give to a child. So it's like the wider the culture is, the wider that the students is going to learn. So parang according to the social cultural learning theory, it is important for the instructors to understand the human mind from a historical point of view as well as cultural one. So Vygotsky believe na yung culture is merong crucial role sa development din ng isang tao. For example, a child is raised or trained in an early life. Pwede yung makakontribute sa development ng cognitive or cognition ng bata. For instance, one's culture view about education, how children are trained in early life, all can contribute to the cognitive development, sabi ko nga. Next, you have language. So according to the socio-cultural learning theory, language is direct result of the symbols and tools that emerge within a culture. And an individual learn a language through a variety of social events, scenarios, and processes, which all result in acquisition of language. This aspect of sociocultural learning theories relies upon the idea that learners go through three stages of speech development. So, dito is meron tayong three stages. First is, they must engage in social environment, which is yun yung tinatawag nating social speech. And nag-umpisa yon at the age of 2. While we have naman is yung private speech, which occurs when learners voice or their thoughts aloud. And nagbibigin yon at the age of 3. So yung last is yung inner speech, which takes form of ideas that remains within our mind and directly impacts our behavior or thoughts. Nag-start naman yon at the age of 7. So, if ma-observe natin, for example, yung mga bata, sabihin na natin, examples yung mga preschoolers. For example, yung bata is may hawak na block. Sasabihin ng bata na, gagawin ko itong airplane. May hawak siyang rectangular na block. Or kaya may hawak pa siyang another na mas mahabang block. Sasabihin niya, ito yung airport, tas yung airplane. Yung pagsasama, alam yung naglalaro yung bata. So, para kay Vygotsky, yung talking to oneself is an indication of the thinking that goes on the mind of the child. So, this will eventually lead to a private speech. And private speech is a form of self-talking that guides children thinking and action. So, yun nga, naniniwala sa Vygotsky na yung activities sa learning is essential. So, children learn best through hands-on activities that's when listening passively. Learning by doing is even made more fruitful when children interact with knowledgeable adults and peers. Next, we have the ZAD, or what we call zone of proximal development. So this gap or distance that exists between a learner's possible educational development, which is determined through problem solving or activities, and the development that actually takes place. This is assessed when learners are asked to engage problem solving under the supervision of an instructor. So their response and capabilities are then compared to that of their peers. So this assessment is based upon a spectrum wherein um, what learners are capable of doing without any assistance is at one end of the spectrum. So here, for example, is yung when a child attempts to perform a skill alone, she may not be immediately proficient at it. So alone, she may perform a certain level of competency. We refer it as ZAD, yung zone of actual development. So, for example is, yung sasabihin ng bata na magigitara siya. Yung bata is alam lang niyang hawakan yung gitara pero hindi niya alam tugtugin mismo yung gitara. So, pero 'pag sinamahan naman natin siya or may guidance siya ng MKO or yung tinatawag nating more knowledgeable other, so mas matututo siya hindi lang yung paghawak ng gitara, malalaman niya rin kung paano tugtugin or gamitin yung gitara. So, yung difference between what a child can accomplish alone and what she can accomplish with the guidance of another is what Vygotsky referred as zone of proximal development. So, the zone represents as learning opportunity sa development ng bata. Vygotsky always emphasized the role of cultural factors in cognitive development. So, he also identified intellectual tools of adaptation which enables individuals to acquire cognitive skills depending on what tools their culture has made available for them or read more about it. So, that's all for Vygotsky's sociocultural theory.